You are listening or watching Real Conversations with Jacob Young. Real Conversations is sponsored by Boys Town. Boys Town has been saving children, healing families for over 100 years, guys. Also by Lane Frost brand, made for the champion in you. And be sure to use Jacob 15 to save anything and everything Lane Frost brand. Now, my guest this week is one of the funniest, hardest working, and cleanest stand-up comedians in the world today. His television debut was on The Tonight Show when it was still hosted by the iconic Johnny Carson. Since then, he's appeared on almost every major TV talk show. He made his film debut in Chris Rock's comedy Top 5, and you might have seen him on Amazon Prime's Loudermilk, or getting coffee in cars with Jerry Seinfeld on what else? Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. He's got 3 Netflix comedy specials, and that's just so far. He consistently tours the country in his highly acclaimed stand-up show, and chances are, in the next year, he'll be performing in a town near you. My guest this week is the always funny Brian Regan. You know what time it is. It's time to keep it real with Real Conversations with Jacob Young.
Hey.
Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jacob, how are you?
I'm good. Man, I was so lucky to see you recently in Charleston. Such a great show.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun touring around the country, and we had just met, a couple of weeks prior to that, and to find out that you were you were going to be in Charleston when I was going to be there a couple of weeks later was pretty cool. So
yeah.
Glad to have you out.
What a coincidence. And you were there. We did a little thing together. Your brother Dennis was there. Both of you, like such gentlemen. I had such a pleasure meeting the both of you.
Thank you.
Now, your TV debut with Johnny Carson. I mean, come on, a legend. Johnny set the bar for all talk show hosts. How did you find that inner courage to go out there and kill with your comedy without passing out on network television?
It was something else, man. You know that expression, a dream come true. It gets overused a lot in this world, but in that case, it was true. Every comedian at that time wanted to be on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Every comedian had the same goal, to get on that show. And I was fortunate enough to get on about a year before he retired. So, and standing behind that curtain is like, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain how bizarre that is because, I was very nervous, of course, and then I'm hearing his voice, that iconic Johnny Carson voice introducing me, talking about me. And I'm like, it's surreal. Like I watched this guy when I was a kid. And so he introduced me. I walked out through the curtain, and it's a long walk to get out to your mark. It's longer than people realize. It's like 6-7 steps. So you walk out through the curtain. I look to the right and see him sitting behind his desk looking over at me. And I remember thinking, wow, I've never seen the desk from that angle. You only see the camera angles you see from home. And I remember going, wow, that's weird. I've never seen the back of his desk, And then I look over on the left and there's Doc Severinsen and the band. And I'm like, I've never seen them from that angle. And then I walked out and did my set, and it was probably as nervous as I've ever been in my life at that time. But I muscled my way through it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and launched many comedians' careers, and obviously you were probably going to make it anyway without that. But I can imagine just how important that was. Now, was Johnny somebody that would come around like other talk show hosts, like in the green room and say what's up or knock on your dressing room? Did he introduce himself?
No, he was not like that. In fact, but I knew that, other comedians who had done it said, don't expect him to come around and say hi. Don't get your feelings hurt because that's not the way he operates. The first time you're going to see him is when you get out there. And that was the case. But I got very lucky in that I did my spot. Bob Hope was supposed to be on the same episode, but was filming a special for the return of the troops from the first Gulf War and was running late. So because of that, during the taping, they didn't know if he was going to get there on time. So when I finished my stand-up set, I walked back through the curtain the producer came up to me. First of all, I had just completed this 10-year quest, you know. I come back through the curtain. The producer comes up and says, hey, listen, Bob Hope is still not here. In fact, now we're thinking he's probably not going to make it. So we're going to need to fill time. We'd like for you to go back out at the end of the show, sit with Johnny, and he'll ask you about being from Miami and be ready to go into 5 minutes of clean material. Are you cool with that?
Talk about pressure.
Right. I had 10 years to get ready for my first 5 minutes. Now I've got 1 minute to get ready for my next 5 minutes. And that's the way it happened. He didn't show up. I got to go back out and sit with him on the panel, and it was just surreal.
Oh, that's amazing. What a great story. Thanks for sharing that. Now, you kind of mentioned this, just you touched on it. Unlike the majority of stand-up comedians, you made the decision to keep your comedy clean without the 4-letter word or the shock value topics. Why was it important to you to take that path? There. I thought my video had gone away for a second. I was going to curse, going, hey, I'm gone. I'm off the screen. No, I like all kinds of comedy. You know, I even like comedy. There are people out there who like to work dirty or whatever. Richard Pryor was very dirty, but he was brilliant, you know. So if it's truthful and organic for the performer, then I'm cool with it. But it's not truthful nor organic for me. I like to try to see how hard I can get people laughing without hitting certain words or certain topics. And it's just a personal quest for me. And, you know, I enjoy it. And apparently I'm lucky enough that there's people out there who like it as well. Yeah, no, it's super funny. Your show is great. You don't need all that junk in there, even though, yeah, Richard Pryor was a funny guy. People that use those kind of topics and whatnot, they can be very funny, but it doesn't have to be that way. And it's a real pleasure watching you do what you do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Now, we are cutting a little bit out the connection, but I think if we just stay with it, we'll be just fine.
Okay.
So some stand-up comedians I know, without mentioning any names, are not necessarily always very happy people off stage. Why do you think that so many comedians who are so funny on stage are sometimes unhappy in real life?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the percentages are. You know, I think if you took 100 comedians and 100 people who are not comedians and put their personalities on a graph, I tend to think we'd be pretty similar to people who are not comedians. But you know, just like in all walks of life, you're going to have people who are on the happier side than on other sides. But the stand-up comedy stage is very intriguing because it does give people like myself a place to vent that I might not have in my regular life. You know, if something happens with an airline or something, I mean, that's a common topic in comedy, but if something happens that's frustrating, I know I have an outlet that I can express that on, and that's the stage. Whereas if you're just in life and something happens that's not so fun, it's like, wow, you have to internalize it. I know I'm going to have that volcanic effect where I can get it out of me on a stage and make audiences laugh, hopefully, by people who have experienced similar things. So it gives us a place to explode, if you will.
Yeah. I could relate to that as an actor. You know, you try to put it all out there and not bring it home and all that. So you utilize what you got to get that off of your chest if you have something. And I could imagine when you put your show together and you're thinking about all those jokes, that's kind of that process.
Sure. Yeah. Things happen to you in life. They say a formula for comedy is comedy equals tragedy plus time. And it doesn't have to be like tragedy, like a death, just any uncomfortable or awkward experience. It's tragic in a comedian's mind. It's not funny at the time, but some time passes. You think of a way to make it funny. You get on stage and you talk about it. Yeah, I always use this expression. Like, if you get a flat tire in the rain and you have to go fix the flat tire in the rain, it's certainly not funny at the time. But when you're telling the story a month later to all your friends at a party, somehow it's funny. So comedy equals tragedy plus time. So it's sort of a formula that works pretty well.
Yeah, it sure does. And also a great insight for people that don't really kind of put that together. So I do have to address this, and I know you worked with Chris Rock, of course, and I'm going to talk about the slap, but your friend Chris Rock handled it with such class and professionalism at the Oscars. As a stand-up comedian yourself, how did that incident affect you?
It's a very challenging thing. I mean, I hated to see him get slapped. I hate to see anybody get slapped, Chris Rock, I don't think had any intentions whatsoever of making a serious joke. I don't think he had any idea that Will Smith's wife suffered from that condition. And I don't know the name of alopecia or something.
Yeah.
He's just making a G.I. Jane joke. And when Will Smith walked on stage, you can see Chris Rock going, okay, something odd or weird or funny is about to happen. Will Smith is walking on stage. So he's just rolling with it. And then when Will Smith just hauled off and slapped him in the face, I mean, my gosh, I felt I don't know, I would not have been able to handle it as well. I'll tell you that. I think something inside of me would have not known what to do. And I don't think I would have handled it with the class and grace that Chris Rock did.
Yeah, no, I mean, it took a lot of courage for him to stand on there and keep the show going.
Right.
Yeah. And it affected me too, because I was just like, it's just something you never expect to see, especially on that level of what's supposed to be professionalism. So, but yeah, thank you so much, for giving that insight on that. Do you continue to learn new things about yourself performing stand-up on live stage?
Sure. Yeah. I love doing stand-up. I mean, when I was young, that's all I ever wanted to do. And then along the way, I've been fortunate enough to venture out a little bit and do a handful of other things, some acting gigs and this or that. But there's just something that has always, excited me about stand-up comedy. And it's that ability to push through your fears. When I first started doing stand-up, I was terrified. About getting on stage. And I remember I was about a year in, and I had been going on every night. And I remember standing near the stage as I was being introduced, thinking to myself, I would describe this condition as petrified. And I'm a year into it. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like I don't have to do this. I can go out to my car and go get a job in a restaurant as a waiter. Why am I doing this? So obviously there was some greater good in it that I needed for myself. And it circles back to what we were talking about before. It's a way to express oneself. And when you get an audience laughing, an audience or a person, it's a connection. You're making a connection. It's like electricity. Electricity needs a sender and a receiver. It doesn't work unless you have both sides. So when you say something on stage, you need an audience to go, bam, we're connecting, we're laughing. And that laugh is a connection. It means you're communicating. And that is very fulfilling as a human being.
I'm sure early on, some of those laughs didn't come after some punchlines.
And still to this day, I mean, there's no guarantees with it. You think of something in your head, you think it's funny, you get on stage, you give it a go. It's not always going to work. And when you first start, of course, the percentages are even lower because you don't have the stage skills yet to muscle through difficult times. You can learn certain things, you can learn certain tricks as you go through the years. One of them is confidence. To say it's a trick seems silly, but I always explain to people say, wow, you look like you're really comfortable up there. And I'm like, it's half confidence and it's half faking confidence. It's both of those working together. You can't let an audience know that you're weak or that you have any fear. You need that audience to know you belong up there. And sometimes they're not really doing what you want them to do, but you have to have an attitude of, hey, I'm going to have fun. It's up to you if you want to join in.
Right. And you have such energy on stage. I was getting exhausted watching you, but like, you know, obviously you just, you know, I mean, I've been on Broadway on big stages before, and I could be just dog tired. And as soon as I step on the stage, like all that energy and life comes back. So
Sure.
I do know that feeling, but man, you work your butt off up there.
Well, thank you. I pride myself in, I'm going to try everything I have to put on a good show. You know, it's like, that's my gig. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And usually it's going to work out, but you know, like we said before, occasionally you're going to catch a crowd that's not quite there for you, but I'm going to give you everything I can think of during this time period. And I hope it works out. And when it works out, it's very, very gratifying. And when it doesn't work out, it's not fun. You know?
Right.
I get off stage sometimes and like want to lick my wounds and go, man, I don't need that again. Not in this lifetime. But that's the risk you take.
How do you lick your wounds, metaphorically? I mean, like when you do have a moment where you go, gosh, I wish I could have been better. Is there something that you do that helps you get through that?
You try to use the opportunity to say to yourself, what am I going to do the next time this similar situation happens? How will is there another technique I can use? Can I be more vulnerable on stage? Is there a line I can say? Is there a way to look more confident? You try to learn from it. And the learning from it means you're growing from it. Like, even though it didn't go well, you can still grow and learn. And that's what gives me comfort. It's like, okay, I didn't enjoy that experience, but next time I'm in that situation, I'm going to have this tool I'm going to use. So
nice.
You use everything. You use everything, even bad nights.
Yes, sir. Great advice. Now, if anyone checks out brianregan.com, they can see your up and coming tour dates. And truly, you are like a McDonald's. You're in almost every town in America.
Yeah.
Our audience is basically the same, or do you see differences in people depending on where you are in the country?
Both. There is a sameness throughout the country. I mean, you know, with television and the internet and cable and everything, you know, it's like we all, people in San Francisco know what people in Boston are like. I mean, there's a sameness to us, but that doesn't mean that there aren't also geographical differences. You know, obviously people have accents in different parts of the country because they're influenced by the people around them, and personalities can be influenced as well. I've always said, like, for example, if you go to crowds in the Northeast, Philadelphia, up through New York, up through Boston, those audiences have a very short fuse. Like, you better get your foot in the door quickly and show them that you're confident and that you're funny. But if you do, they're great. They're amazing audiences. They will give you everything they got. But they're not going to sit around and wait a whole long time. You know, if you're 10 minutes in and you still haven't made them laugh, they're going to let you know about it. Whereas if you go to the Midwest, where people tend to be, you know, a little bit calmer or whatever, or, you know, people are nice for a whole hour, for the whole hour, even if you're not doing great. They're like, hey, we're just happy you're here. You know? So there are differences throughout the country.
Sure. There's that old expression too, that laughter is the best medicine. What do you think are the healing powers of laughter?
When someone is laughing, they feel good in that moment. Even if you're sick or you're hurt or you've got all of the troubles in the world on your shoulders, if you're the moment you're laughing, you feel good in that moment. Doesn't mean all of that stuff is gone. I mean, it's still going to be there, but at least for a moment, you have a reprieve from the challenges in life. And I find laughter to be one of the most beautiful things in life. I love to laugh. I love when somebody makes me laugh. It's just cathartic. But then to cause it, to put other people in a position where they can loosen up a little bit and laugh is very powerful. And it makes me feel like $1,000,000. And, it always amazes me. There are times after a show, someone will come up and say, they'll say it as a compliment. They'll say, "Hey, man, I'll tell you what, I didn't want to laugh, but I got to hand it to you. You made me laugh tonight." And I would scratch my head like, what do you mean you didn't want to laugh? What kind of goal is that?
Yeah.
Why did I have to overcome that part of your personality?
I mean, they're like setting themselves up there.
Yeah. I didn't want to have a good time, but I'll be honest with you, I ended up having a good time.
I had a great time. I came in here with I wasn't going to laugh no matter what, but that's hilarious, right, man. Now, you have been in cars with Jerry Seinfeld. How was that for you? I mean, I've watched the show.
Oh, it's really cool. I've done 2 of them. I did the first 10 that he did when none of them were out yet. He had just had the idea, and he said he was going to, he picked 10 people that he wanted to do comedians in cars with coffee with, and I was one of those 10. So it wasn't like I could get online and watch some to see what it was like. I'm very fortunate that he likes my comedy and likes what I do, and that he invited me to be one of those 10 was just an amazing honor. But basically all I knew was the title. He goes, "I love driving around with comedians and going to get coffee, and to me it's fun, and I think there's a show here." And he asked if I wanted to do one. I was like, "Yeah, sure." But I was nervous, like I didn't know if I was going to be rise to the occasion or be funny enough. You get in the car, there's cameras all around. They follow you with a van with a camera crew in it. You try to forget that you're being filmed. The moment you forget you're being filmed, you're like, okay, I'm just chilling out with a friend. Then a van pulls up next to you at a red light with a film crew hanging out the sliding door. You go, okay, I get it. Back on television, Yeah. But it was a lot of fun to do.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be an experience. Now, speaking of you being in cars with Jerry Seinfeld, everybody on my show takes a ride in the Jacob Young time machine.
Oh.
You might have been in Jerry's cars, but you haven't been in my time machine yet. Is there any advice you would give 15-year-old Brian?
Yeah. Put your foot on the pedal of confidence. Just you're an okay guy, Brian. And if the current me could go back and talk to the 15-year-old me,
15-year-old self.
Yeah, just realize that you're okay, and your decisions are pretty decent, and you're going to be a good guy.
Solid advice. One more question for you. And my sponsor, Boys Town, their motto is, "He ain't heavy, he's my brother," meaning in some point in our lives, we've all been somewhere where we needed to be carried by someone, whether it's a family member, a significant other. In my case, my children carry me. Who's carried you, Brian?
Wow. A lot of people in my life. My mom and dad were big influences on me. They were very supportive of me. I dropped out of college as a second semester senior to pursue stand-up comedy. It's a long story. I couldn't finish up the credits, and I wasn't going to be able to finish them for a while, and I knew I wanted to do stand-up comedy. And I had to call my mom and dad, and as far as they were concerned, it probably sounded like a kid saying they're going to join the circus, And they were surprisingly supportive. They said, listen, they said what most parents would say: "Hey, we think you should probably hang in there and get your degree, but you're a grown person, and if this is something you want to do, we love you and we support you." And that I mean, I'll get emotional here, but that has always meant the world to me, because I've heard of a lot of comedians whose parents didn't support them going into it, because show business is like a weird dream for a lot of people. And a lot of people in life, a lot of people who've been around a while think, get a job as a machinist and just get a regular job, which is fine too. Every track in life is fine and noble, but there are people who want to go for something a little bit more, and I'm glad my parents supported that.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And I told my dad when I was going to be an actor, and it wasn't as nice. He was like, "Well, it's your life," and but at the same time, he eventually saw that it was a dream that was worth following. And
right.
we later discussed it. And he goes, "Well, you made the right decision," because he knew I wasn't going to be happy like in the family business. So it's good to be able to follow your dreams, and it's great that you had that support from your parents.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm glad you ended up being able to talk it through with your dad. That's cool.
Yeah, man. Well, Brian, I know that you're a busy man. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure, of course, working with you and Dennis, and I really enjoyed getting to know you guys a little bit better. Guys, go see Brian's show. He will not disappoint. BrianRegan.com has all the tour dates, all the ticket links for the shows that you can bring the whole family to see. Thank you so much, Brian. Just hold tight for me 1 second.
You got it. Thank you, Jacob.
That's all the time that we have for today. Real Conversations, of course, with Jacob Young is sponsored by Boys Town. At Boys Town, their slogan is, "He ain't heavy, he's my brother." And for over 100 years, Boys Town has been saving children, healing families. They're only one call away, and they're always there to help. Please go to boystown.org for all the details on how to access Boys Town's health services, or simply go to yourlifeyourvoice.org. If you are in crisis, you do need immediate help, please call the trained counselors at the Boys Town National Hotline at 800-448-3000, or you can text VOICE, VOICE, to 20121. Thanks for joining me on Real Conversations. I'm Jacob Young. Till next time, love yourself and love each other.